Thanks for tuning in to Topanga Sessions. I'm your host, Nick Stubbs, and I'm here with Pi. How are you doing?
Doing good today. Sitting out here in the sun with you in this garden. It's beautiful.
Pretty amazing. All right, your name is Pi, and I can't
Yes.
help but one of my favorite movies of all time is Life of Pi. And it's actually spelled P-I.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
I want to know the backstory on this because that's such a unique name.
Well, I always say I wish it was kind of a sexier story, but what happened was,
I mean, you are a storyteller, so the ability to like dress things up is it's there.
I'll make it shiny for you.
So pretty.
Well, let's see. I have been in this business for a long time, and my very first album, I was 2000, and I was a kid, and I had these mentors, like an attorney and some people that were helping me out get the record out. And my given name is Lisa Marie, like Presley, which I always really hated. But, my mentor was like, listen, you cannot be Lisa Marie. There's a Lisa Marie Presley, and she's trying to do music right now. And so, I just struggled. I thought, I was looking for a name. I got all these dumb nicknames and tried them on.
All right,
None
what's
of
some
them
of the
fit.
dumb nicknames.
Oh, I don't know. I think Terry was a.
Terry?
I don't know why. I
How
have
is
no.
that a
I don't know.
nickname?
It's like I said, I was really struggling. So
Hey, yeah, you know what? I'll go by Cecil.
okay, all right, Cecil. So what happened was, my guy came home one day, and he's an engineer and math person, and he's like, "I'm gonna get the number pi tattooed around my bicep, as many numbers as I can go." And I was like, "That is so cool." And then I was like, I like pi, and I mean math pi. I'm a dork, and I like the sort of mysticalness of it. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, I'm half Filipino, which is PI is the initials for the Philippine Islands.
Okay.
Half Filipino. I'm a Pisces, and my birthday's on 3/12. Not
No.
quite 3/14,
I
but
mean, close enough.
almost. So I just said, I'm going to steal that. And my mentor is so smart. He said, okay, you're Pi now. I'm going to call you Pi forever, and you're not going to half-ass this. You're going to do it. So I went around to my friends, and I said, would it be weird if you... And some of the people never really changed to calling me Pi, but at this point in my life, 20 years later, everybody calls me Pi, even my mom. So, like, someone could say Lisa. It's not like a secret that I'm Lisa, but I'd sort of be like, who's
Squirrel?
that? Who's that?
Now, that's really cool. Now, for you at home, one thing I've always found really interesting is the fact that we're given a birth name, and the fact of the matter is that that's like some people just define themselves by that. And I've known people to change their names before. Now, for you at home, I was actually unnamed in the hospital for a week
Oh,
because
wow.
my mom wanted me to be named Wolfgang, and my dad wanted Nicholas to appease my mom's father. Shocking.
Uh-huh.
And it ended up being Nicholas. But I have friends that do call me Wolf, and I actually like it. Just resonates more with me. So I feel like you really needed to find your name to help like define who you are. And you at home, don't think it's that weird if you feel like you don't resonate with the name that you're given, and really just kind of like there is no box in life. Like that's why I love cooking so much. Like there are no rules in the kitchen. I mean, if you want to change your name, change your name.
I was so shy about changing it, and I'm so grateful for my mentor who told me to just go for it, because I was going to maybe sort of not tell people, but it was going to be my stage name. And it was incredibly easy once I committed to it. I was just like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to ask everyone in a nice way if they will help me become this new person. And they did. Everybody got on board. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Now,
Great.
I really want to talk about your music since we are here for music as well.
Yeah.
And you have a really interesting story about really truly pain and struggle and like growing with it, not through it.
Yeah. Well, we were talking a little bit earlier, but this will relate to the song that I'm going to play, the song is called In the Rearview, and it's, there's a very specific story to me, but it's also just a song about getting out of a bad situation.
And I feel like we can all relate to that almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, for sure. But for me, the inspiration for the song was that I didn't know my father. They got divorced when I was around 2. He came to see me a couple times, and then he just disappeared. I mean, I was in touch with both sets of grandparents, and he just never came around, didn't care, didn't want to see me. So,
and how hard that must have been. I mean, I personally can relate because my dad passed when I was young, but like in that level of having someone that's actually like alive that doesn't want to actually spend time with you, and like how that can make you feel so small.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would ask my mom. I remember crying and saying, "Why doesn't he want to see me?" And she would just say, "Well, honey, I don't know. No one knew." So a bunch of stuff happened. I was a very messed up teenager. I ended up kind of getting rehabbed when I was 16. I dropped out of school. A lot of stuff was going down. And somewhere in there, I went to see a therapist.
What was the moment? Because we all spiral at times, but a lot of people continue to spiral. And the thing is, what was that moment that said enough is enough?
I don't know if I remember a moment. I just remember
a domino effect.
I remember being like, I didn't want to be here anymore. I remember thinking that.
I think we can all relate to that at some part of our life.
Yeah, and my mother was dating a guy who was all involved in all these 12-step programs. So I got involved with him and a bunch of different programs, and that was great for me. And then that sort of led me to later on doing psychotherapy, your traditional. And
what was your favorite type of therapy? Because there are so many out there.
Okay, for me, the one where I beat the shit out of stuff. Can I swear?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The one where I beat the shit out of stuff, like, where they were like, okay, you're mad? Good, that's stuck in your body. See that pillow? Go beat it up. I felt so stupid. But I would leave there just feeling light, like this.
You had to let that energy go that you held so tightly that was eating you away.
Yes.
And, I mean, that's what's so great about therapy. There's so many different ways, and, like, what one will work for one person might not necessarily work for the other. And that's so cool that, first I want to say, like, I love how life brings people into your life at certain moments in the best possible way. So for your mom to start dating this guy who was a big 12-stepper kind of gave you the ammunition to be able to take it out on this pillow, so to speak.
Yeah, it was further down the road, but that sort of started it all for me. And then when I was 19, I decided I wanted to go find my dad. My grandparents...
How hard was that to even like decide that from this is something I want to do to this is something I am going to do?
Well, when I first my first day walking into the therapist office, and I got sent because my 12-step people were like, listen, you've got bigger issues than we're capable of dealing with here.
But that's great that you have the people around that are like, look, like we know our strengths and we have other people that can help you better.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So I walked in and I said, this is my situation and I don't have a dad and I'm fine. Doesn't bother me. You can't miss what you never had. I used to always say that. And she was like, that sounds like bullshit.
I love when people speak so frankly and it just cuts through the bullshit.
Yeah. So I wanted to see him. I wanted to fill in the puzzle pieces like we had talked about, So I flew up to Alaska. I mean, I'd barely been anywhere by myself. And if you can picture this, Alaska especially at the time, was like the Wild West, right?
I mean, still it technically is.
Yeah, I mean, people had gunfights and stuff. Like, my dad once said, well, when we get hungry in the winter and food's not getting through on the supply chain, we just go out and kill a bear and everybody eats it. So I mean, it's like that. So I find him. He's living out there, and it was. I hung out with him for like 2 weeks.
What was that initial experience for like the knock on the door to the actual like embracing this person that has been missing here inside of you to have that moment of this is actually happening?
Well, I saw him walking down the driveway, took a cab out to where he was staying, and I saw him walk down the driveway, and I thought I was going to not recognize him. And it was immediate. It was just like, oh, that's my blood. Like, I know him. I already know him, even though we haven't talked. And so that was really profound to me before we even said a word to each other. And then we hung out for 2 weeks. It was scary. I mean, he was not.
I could only imagine.
He's not a well person. He lived in a basement of somebody's house. I slept on a pool table the first night. It was sketchy. And so what happened was I went to a meeting, a 12-step meeting, and I was like, this is happening right now. And I'm a little nervous because, like, I don't know my father and I'm here. This woman at the meeting turned out she was an adoptee who had went and found her birth parents.
Amazing.
And she was like, listen, come stay with us. And then you can see your dad at, like, short intervals, which was so much better. So these people were so generous to me.
That's so amazing.
They put me up. They had my dad come over to dinner, which was a trip because my dad's Filipino, and he literally said to me, "I haven't been in a white person's house in 20 years." When they invited him to dinner,
bizarre.
Well, he's got issues,
stuck in our own ways.
Yeah.
But going back to those like amazing moments of having like you juxtapose yourself into this situation, and it was truly unhealthy, and yet life had this way of saying, hey, we know that you're going after your issues, and we're going to help you with this by bringing this woman in.
It was perfect.
That's so beautiful.
It was perfect. It was amazing. So I spent 2 weeks getting to know him in the best way. Like they were very wealthy people, but they took us out boating and to dinner.
That's so
They were very
cool.
kind, super generous, and they made me feel like I had a safe place while I was going and trying to get to know this guy. And so I started to notice things in that 2 weeks. Like I noticed that he had no visible means of income. I was pretty sure he was involved in a bunch of criminal stuff, some very funky, weird sexual stuff. He had this girlfriend that his words, I don't know exactly what it means, but I found her and rescued her when she was 14 from the street. Her name was Angel. I'm not kidding. This is what he was telling me. And I'm like, this is not cool. Yeah. He was 40 at the time. So like there was stuff. So I was learning that. So I go home 2 weeks and I'd really gotten a lot out of it because there were things that we liked the same movies. We liked the same music. We liked the same kind of food. I never really had a chance to explore my Filipino side because I grew up with my mom, who's white, and so there was a little bit of that. It was good, but I got home and I was like, all right, that was interesting. We'll stay in touch with letters and such. And he just got stranger and stranger. He came down when my grandfather was
or just
dying.
more opened up more and more on that comfort factor,
Yeah.
which sometimes isn't actually a good thing.
Yeah, it wasn't good. When he came down when my grandfather was ill, he had brought a handgun and asked to, like, he was super broke, like he had to borrow a shirt from my boyfriend, and we were driving around in my car. He wanted to drive, and I remember one incident, it was late at night, and he wanted to go through this very dark tunnel to get to Ocean Beach in San Francisco. And these tunnels go under the freeway. Homeless people live there. It was like a big fire in a trash can.
How old were you at this time?
I was like 20, maybe 21.
I mean, that's heavy for even for me.
I didn't know he had the gun though. So I was like, I'm not walking in there.
Nor should you really like be carrying a gun to be able to walk someplace
Right.
and like thinking that that's okay.
Yeah. So we have this big fight. I say, I'm not going to go. He goes, okay. Takes out his gun, puts it under the car seat, and says, okay, I guess I won't need this. So, I mean, I was just...
Like, this was, like, totally, like, just a normal thing of, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Casual.
you know, I mean, I'm learning. And at a certain point, I just was like, he's not a good dude. Like, I'm so glad I went and met him, filled in all these gaps, and now I don't need a relationship. It's not working for me.
I mean, I believe we call that closure.
Yeah. So I went away to college, didn't tell him where I was going, one day I get a call in my room, and it's my dad. He's like, yeah, I've become a police officer, and you know, your dorm isn't supposed to give out your phone number, but I cop talked them into giving it to me. And
that's sketchy.
I was really terrified because I had purposefully moved and not told him where I was going.
Absolutely.
So what I did was I wrote a letter and said, I'm glad that we did this, but it's not going to work. I don't want to have a relationship. And
by the way, good
worked.
for you for actually voicing that, because so many people will go through the motions in life, and even when they know in their heart that it's a no, and people always wonder, like, why worse things happen, because you're not actually speaking your truth.
Yeah. Well, he actually scared me. And then the
that's
fact
fair.
that the thing of the calling me and kind of stalking me in my dorm room like that was a little bit of a wake-up call for me. Like, okay.
That's an understatement.
And so, you know, back to this song that I'm going to play, that was my experience. And I also have changed my name twice and moved a lot. And just for a while, you know, it was like, I don't want to be found. And at this point, you know, I'm findable. Or at least Pi Jacobs is findable, you know, like, and I'm not worried and I'm not scared. But that was a big deal for a while. I was, you know, I felt like I was on the run. So that's kind of what inspired this song, Rearview. But then I think a lot of people have experienced that, where they're just like, I'm going to burn everything to the ground because I got to get out of here. Like, I'm going to get rid of all the good too because it's too much. You know, I got to go.
What would you say to the person that's watching right now for that, I want to connect to my birth parents that aren't necessarily there, and like, how to navigate that?
I would say that if you have that need, you absolutely should do it and fulfill it, because I learned so much about myself, things that I could have never learned from just my mom, and it's worth it. I would also say, like, try to set it up so that you feel safe, because it's going to be really scary to go see someone that gave you up or didn't care. I mean, you're going to have questions. It's going to be a big deal. So take a friend, take your family members that support you or something, so that you're not just thrown into this situation with somebody who honestly you don't know. You really don't know them. It's worth it to find out, but set yourself up to be safe and, you know, emotionally safe as well, you know.
Absolutely. Pi, thanks so much. So what is the song that you're going to be playing for us?
So this song is called In the Rearview, and it's about all the stuff we just talked about, and but it fits a lot of people. The man who mixed the album, it's a great guy named Dexter Simmons, and he told me that this song brought him to tears every time he worked on it. And I was surprised,
beautiful,
because I thought that women would relate to this. A lot of times you hear about battered women trying to leave or whatever. And to hear that this, you know, big, strong man had gone through a situation like this with an ex-wife who scared him, I was really moved by that. And so, yeah, this is a song for you guys if you ever had to run for it.
Well, thanks so much, Pi, and I look forward to the song.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
She packed a bag while he was working, emptied out the bank account, told no one where she was going, headed west out of town. so bad, starting over. Soon these bruises will fade. She's gonna be a different woman. Dyed her hair, changed her name. It's taken all of her nerve, but it won't catch her. She's got nothing to lose in the rearview. Ooh. In the rearview, oh. Go on, ghost. Go on, oh. Ooh. It's in the rearview of them ghosts. Oh, go on, ghosts. Go on, go on. Ooh. It's taking all of her nerve, but it won't catch her. She's got nothing to lose in the rearview. Ooh. Ooh. Oh yeah.